The spiritual and the material world seem diametrically opposed. We're often told that you have to forsake one in order to have the other. So is there a difference? Is there really a difference between spiritual goals and material goals? Today, I want to share with you how a spiritual master by the name of Lester Levenson created a brilliant method that actually tricks you into achieving your material goals by taking a deep dive down the spiritual rabbit hole. Check this out. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, the simple way to self-realization. So if you want total control over your mind and more happiness and abundance in your life, then you've come to the right place. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. You're going to love what we show you, primarily because it is 100% experiential, meaning you have to take our word for it, but you can check it out and prove it to yourself and get your own experience and your own answers here. Now, one of the brilliant aspects of the work that we do here, and what we do is we follow the work of a master by the name of Lester Levenson, who left us a wonderful method to follow to find our own mastership, to find our own self-realization. And one of the most brilliant aspects of Lester's work is using it on goals. And by achieving goals, we actually drop away a lot of our false beliefs and false realities and just really get zeroed in on who we are and how powerful we are. Now, that being said, I was recently having a conversation with a new student who came along. And this person, even though we're kind of new working together, they're not new to Lester's method, and they're not new to spirituality overall, right? They've been practicing spirituality for a long, long time. And one of the things that they said to me was, one thing I don't get about Lester's method is working on goals. And when they told me this, it's something that I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of people say, well, there's such a huge emphasis on goals. I don't get why that's the case. Why can't we just sit around and be spiritual? Now, I'm going to give you the answer, because the way Lester set this up is absolutely brilliant. Because he shows us that going for material goals in the world does not have to be diametrically opposed to seeking our own spirituality, that they're in fact one and the same. But before we get into that, I have to say, they got a point. Because after all, one way to look at it is, if you get so focused on goals, then seeking out goals can be very materialistic, opposite of spirituality. And it could also stir up the ego, stir up lust and greed and all that stuff, and attachment. So why get involved in all of that? Why not just seek the truth, seek spirituality? And there's a lot of truth to this, because I remember how when I used to live back in the San Francisco Bay Area, I used to go see a master who would come out once a year to the Bay Area, because she had a huge ashram there. She lived over in India, but she traveled to the States once a year, and her main ashram was right there, very close to where I lived. I used to go out and visit her. And by the way, her name is Amma. She's known as the Hugging Saint. And she really is a master. And as I would sit and hang out with Amma and listen to her talks and listen to the Indian bhajans, the devotional songs that she would sing, a lot of her message that she would express is that the world is false, absolutely 100% false, and the world is suffering, complete suffering, which is basically the same thing Buddha said 2,500 years ago. And it's also what most other masters talk about, because most masters, they talk about detachment and just being detached and renunciating all of your desires in the world. So there is a lot of truth to this idea of, well, should I even go for goals? But like I said, what Lester set up is absolutely brilliant. Because first of all, what Lester pointed out is that there is no difference between the spiritual and the material world. In fact, I'm going to play a short clip of Lester where he says just that. So check this out. Check out what Lester says about the world and spirituality.
He nicely brings out what I've been saying the past 6 times, that there's no difference between the spiritual and the physical when you see the truth. Absolutely none. It's one and the same. I mean, just what I said, you see it wrongly when you see it as 2 different things. This is spiritual and that's physical. That's wrong sight. When you see everything as spiritual, as the same, then you're seeing it correctly.
So one of the premises of Lester's method is that the mind is a creative instrument. Basically, if you hold in mind only what you want, that's exactly what you would get all the time. And this is the same principle that people adopt when they practice the law of attraction. So they concentrate on a vision board, or they put up a picture of a goal that they have, like on the refrigerator, so they could see it, they could focus on it, they can picture it. And by holding it in mind, they're seeking to actually manifest their goal using the law of attraction. But a lot of people that practice it, the law of attraction, they have a very difficult time manifesting what they really want. And if it was so simple that all we had to do is just hold in mind what we want, then why doesn't it happen all the time? For example, if I was to sit here and go, all right, I'm going to hold in mind being a multi-billionaire and I have a Ferrari. When I open my eyes and I look at my bank account and I look in the garage, there's no billions, there's no Ferrari. So what the heck is Lester talking about? Now, what Lester said very specifically is, hold in mind only what you want, and that's exactly what you would get. Now let's take a look at a big goal that we might have. Let's just use the outlandish example of being a multi-billionaire, right? So if we try to hold that in mind, well, that's a picture, that's a thought that we're putting out there. But at the same time that we're putting that thought out there, what other thoughts tend to come up about being a multi-billionaire? How the heck is that going to happen? There's only so much money in the world and there's only so many billionaires. Why do I think I'm going to be one of those? And I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the connections. I don't have the skills. I don't have that sort of fortune. And my life is pretty miserable. I would really love to have multi-billions because I don't like my job and I'm struggling to pay the bills and I'm sweating it out every month and So we have this positive thought of having what we want, but then we have a bunch of other garbage that comes up in our mind. Garbage in the form of, I can't, I don't know how to do it, I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough, and on and on and on. And it's kind of like you have a scale. On one side of the scale is your positive thought that you want to create. And that's just one thought there. But on the other side of the scale, if you have a whole bunch of other thoughts that are conscious and subconscious collectively, that weigh in with, I'm not good enough, It's impossible. It's never going to happen. This is stupid. On and on. Whichever has more weight to it wins. So this explains how, we can think about something, and we could wish for something, and we could sit there and just feel like, oh, I could taste it, I could feel it. It's right there, it's mine to have. But it never happens. It's because we have this other clutter in our mind. And that right there leads us to the teachings of all of these spiritual masters, because they're all about decluttering your mind, quieting that mind, right? They all give some sort of practice that's designed to quiet the mind, whether it's through prayer, through meditation, through breath work, or any of these methods that these great ones have given us. They're all designed for a singular, simple purpose: quiet that mind. So, where does this bring us? To Lester's method. Well, Lester knew that we are interested in things in the world. We would like the Ferrari, the billions. I mean, who wouldn't? Why not? Why not give yourself the gift of abundance? Why make your life hard if you are the creator? It would just be a natural, loving thing to do, to have whatever you want for the mere thought of it. And Lester's message, and basically the message of all the other masters, is you can. You are that powerful. But you got to clear out the clutter. Now, when Lester gave us the exercise to work on goals, what we do is we put that thought out there, that wonderful, outlandish goal that we have that would just be super to experience in our life. But instead of just focusing, dreaming, wishing, and lusting after it, and trying to drill it into our psyche, right? Drill that picture in so it's cemented in our consciousness, and therefore it's going to be created. That's a hard way to do it. What is actually much easier is to put that picture out there, but see what else comes up. That I can't. It's never going to happen. Yeah, I'm not the kind of person that sort of thing happens to, and on and on and on. So we can become aware of it and go, oh, that's in my thinking. That's in my database up here. And what do I need that information for? Why do I need a voice telling me that I don't deserve it? Why do I need to listen to that? And using Lester's method, we can actually erase all of these contrary thoughts and feelings, so that one by one we knock them out, and we literally take an eraser to our mind and erase this stuff permanently out of our mind. See, I'm sure you're familiar with thoughts of limitation that you have, like I don't deserve it, or I'm not good enough, or no matter what I do I can't win. And you've had thoughts like these that just repeat over and over. Throughout your life, often. Now imagine if these negative words, these negative thoughts just didn't come up for you anymore. They just didn't even occur to you. Where would that leave you? What would you be able to accomplish if you didn't have thoughts running like that in your head? And again, what do you need to listen to those thoughts for? Why do you need to listen to that voice in your head telling you that you can't do it? How does that help you? And who's that voice talking to anyway? Now, unfortunately, a lot of us, we identify as that voice and we take what it says as truth without realizing who it's talking to, and it's us. That's the truth. But by using Lester's method, we can knock out that sound and it's gone permanently. And again, where would that leave you? If you didn't have any negative thoughts, any I can'ts running in your mind. Would you be more courageous? Would you be more effortlessly confident? Would you have more joy and energy every day, especially if you didn't have to listen to all that negative chatter in your mind? And if your mind was just nice and quiet, and you held in mind only what you want, how easy would it be to actually see it happen? Now, a really good analogy of what happens when you release on your goals using Lester's method is, I'm sure you've heard about these old telephone switchboard operators. I'm talking about like way back in like the 1940s, 1950s maybe, probably earlier than that, where if you had a telephone in your house and you wanted to call someone, you know, a few neighborhoods over, you would pick up the phone and you would talk to the operator first. And you would say, operator, connect me to so-and-so. I would like to talk to them. And the operator has a switchboard in front of them with a bunch of sockets, and they have wires so they plug in, so they plug you into this person that you would want to talk to. So they plug it in, it ring their phone, they pick up, and you can have a conversation. So if you can imagine the switchboard operator that has this board, and you know they're directing all these calls and connecting all these people, and so the board is just like a spaghetti of wires running all over the place. And it's like a mess of wires. That's kind of like the way our mind is. It's all haywire. And that shows how, like, if we try to put one thought in, we got all these other plugs leading us in different directions, and who knows what results we're going to get. But if we were to start pulling out these plugs, removing the wires from the board one by one, and we kept doing it until the entire board was empty, then what if we just had one thought in a completely pristine, empty board, and we plugged that one thought in? What would that be like? Maybe it would be a very focused, laser-like thought that generates exactly what Lester's talking about, where you hold in mind only what you want, and that's exactly what you get. So that's the way it works. So let's do a little releasing so you can experience what we're talking about here. Because like I said at the beginning of this, the real beauty of Lester's work is you have to believe what I'm telling you here, and you have to believe what Lester says. But you could try it out and see for yourself. So think about a part of you that is not in alignment with a goal that you would like to achieve. And let me give you an example. Maybe you have like a health and fitness goal, to be a certain weight and fitness level. And you're just like, yeah, but my metabolism is no good, and I can never do it, and I'm not motivated to go to the gym, and on and on and on. There's just so much about me that I just don't see myself ever getting there. Right? So that could be an example. Or you want a lot of abundance in your life. But if you look back upon your life and what you've managed to achieve, you're like, yeah, I'm only able to get so much results. How do I expect to get way up there? How's that ever going to happen? And so while you're looking at your goal, whatever that goal is, you see that there's a part of you that just, it doesn't fit the goal. And see if that part of you now that you're looking at, that part of you that doesn't work for the goal that you would like to have, if you've been wanting to change that about yourself, And let's go back to the example of like the health and fitness goal, where, yeah, I want to change my motivation. I can never keep a gym membership, or I can't control myself with the sweets that I eat, or whatever. I see there's a behavior, there's just a way that I am, and I don't like it. I want to change it. I want to get rid of that. That's not working for me. Right, so anything like that resonate with you? Now here's the thing. If what Lester says is true, that if you hold in mind what you want, that's exactly what you get, you could see that when you're wanting to change something about yourself, especially if you really want to change it really bad, and this is something that for a long time through your life you've been wanting to change, and for a long time this is something that you haven't really liked about yourself. Take a look at this thing you want to change about yourself. And notice exactly what it is that you're holding in mind about that thing you want to change. When you want to change something, are you holding in mind that end goal, right? The goal of, having exactly what you want? Or are you holding in mind that problem? And throughout all the potential years that you've been wanting to change this, all this time, haven't you just been holding in mind, I have this problem. I want this problem to go away. I can't get rid of this problem. And all the while, all those years, you've been just seeing there's a problem, and I want to change that. Now, if the mind is a creative instrument, and that's what you're holding in mind, this thing that I don't like, that I want to change, the problem, well, isn't that exactly what you've been getting all this time? And you've been creating it. You've been holding it in mind in the very nature that you've been wanting to change it. You see that? Now, even if that doesn't make complete sense, this should make perfect sense. By wanting to change it, and especially if you've been wanting to change this a long, long time, if wanting to change it was a magical ingredient that would actually get it to change, it should have changed a long time ago. So if you've been wanting to change it for a long time and nothing's changed, then maybe it's a waste of time to sit around wanting to change it. And also, if you're wanting to change something about yourself, what is that attitude like? Is that a positive, loving attitude? Or is that like a negative attitude of, ew, I don't like that, get that away from me, get that out of here? So if it is indeed negative, and you're just dumping negativity into this picture, and dumping negativity into yourself, how's that going to change anything by being negative? That doesn't make sense. So, obviously, overall, even though wanting to change ourselves, and let's all admit it, there's lots of things we want to change about ourselves, it's a complete waste of time. So, if wanting to change doesn't work, then let's try a different route. So think about that thing that you want to change about yourself. That thing that's in the way of getting that goal that you really want. Now, of course, to your mind, it makes perfect sense. If I want to get the goal, this thing must change. But again, if you just look at your track record, look at what you've accomplished by wanting to change it, which has been zero, nothing has been changed, then let's try a different tact. Now again, think about that thing you want to change. Now first of all, when you're thinking about this thing you want to change, what I want you to do is close your eyes and put your head down towards your stomach or chest, because we've been talking about the mind as a creative instrument. And the mind, it deals in pictures. So if I say don't fall down, what do you get a picture of? Falling down. Just like when you want to change something, what do you get a picture of? The problem, the thing that's not changing. And this picture that isn't working for you, you can't erase it from the neck up. You can't erase it in your thinking. But where you can erase it is in your feeling center, in your stomach or chest area here. So think about this thing that you want to change. And like I said, put your head down towards your stomach or chest area, and even close your eyes so you can really focus on what you're feeling here when you think about this thing you want to change. And notice if you feel a tightness, a clenching feeling, a contraction in your stomach or chest. You notice that? And what that is simply your body telling you that what you're doing is not natural, because basically you're pushing down in your feelings and you're rejecting this thing you want to change. And this rejection and this pushing down on your feelings, like you might be feeling frustrated about it, or there's something that you're worried about and that's got to change. But you don't like the frustration, you don't like the worry, you don't like the insecurity. So it's like, ugh, get that out of here. I don't like how that feels. You push it down. But when you push it down, notice, you feel this tightness, this contraction. And again, that's your body letting you know you're moving in the wrong direction, and that's not natural. So, focus again. Where you feel this contraction in your stomach or chest when you think about this thing you want to change. And wherever that is, open up an imaginary window or door right in front of that energy. Wherever it is, just open up an imaginary door and imagine that energy there. It's, that clenching, contracted feeling. It's just like a knotted up ball of energy in your stomach or chest. It's nothing physical there, but it's just like energy that you could feel all clenched up. So just imagine this energy now moving right on out that imaginary door. Just watch it leave. However that looks like to you. You could see it as smoke billowing out the door, or water flowing out, whatever. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just imagine that energy going out the door. And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And some more. And a little bit more. And let that energy go out the door a little bit more. And you don't need to examine this energy. You don't need to analyze it. Wonder, where did it come from? How did it get there? Who gave it to me? Who cares? It's just energy. It's not good. It's not bad. Let go of any judgments about it. Just see it as energy going out the door. That's all. Keep it simple. And just let that energy go out the door a little bit more. And some more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And welcome up some more of that energy, and just let that pass through right on out that door. All right? Now notice how you feel now. Notice the difference? Basically, all we're looking for is just a lighter feeling. Just notice if you feel a little bit lighter. And that's showing you that you're moving in the right direction. Now let's take a step further here. Now you see, you've been wanting to change something about yourself. And you also see what it is that you're really holding in mind. As long as you want to change it, you're holding in mind what it is that you don't want. And by keeping that in mind, it just seems to persist. So if wanting to change doesn't work, and that want to change that thing, whose decision is that to want to change that? Who's it who's saying, ooh, that's undesirable, I want that to go away? That's your decision. So you're making that decision that's keeping that picture stuck in your consciousness. And if it's your decision, then you can flip that decision around. Just like that. Let go of wanting to change. After all, what do you have to lose? Nothing's changing anyway. It hasn't changed for 20 years probably. So you got nothing to lose. So try this out. Make a decision now. A simple decision. Yes or no. That's it. It's not complicated. Yes or no. Could you let go of wanting to change that? At least just right now in this moment. Try it out. If it doesn't work out for you, you could go right back to wanting to change it. Fair enough? So, could you just decide to let go of wanting to change that a little bit? Yes or no? And could you let go of wanting to change it a little bit more? Yes or no? And could you let go of wanting to change that a little bit more? And could you let go of wanting to change it a little bit more? And could you let go of wanting to change it even more? And even more. And even more. And could you let go of wanting to change it even more? And just right now in this moment, who cares 5 minutes from now or later today? Never mind that. Just in this exact moment, could you just drop all of your wanting to change anything about yourself and just let yourself be exactly as you are? And how does that feel? Again, notice if you just feel lighter by letting go of wanting to change something about yourself. Notice the difference? And just to prove what might be possible here, take a look at that goal of yours and just check, just see if it's at least a little bit more possible to achieve the goal now than it was a few moments ago when you're so much into wanting to change something. See if it's more possible. It is a little bit, right? And it might not make sense, but there's just like an intuition, a gut feeling of, yeah, I feel like it's more possible, like I can, like I could find a way. Now, how does that happen? You might also notice right now, your mind is a bit quieter than it was a few moments ago. Because again, remember, the goal that all the great masters tell us to seek, if we're going for spirituality, is to quiet that mind. But when we're so wrapped up thinking about, oh, I don't like this about myself and this has to change, what happens? Every single day, our mind, whether we're aware of it or not, consciously and subconsciously, is active about, okay, this thing's got to change. How do I change it? And I got to figure out a way. This has to go away. How am I going to do it? And it's like putting out a query in Google. It's like sending out a spider to go crawl the internet on a mission, and it will not stop. You gave it the instructions, and it's just going to go, and it's going to go forever. And that's the way the mind works when you give it an instruction like that. It's just going to keep thinking, okay, this has to change. How do I change it? It's got to stop. I don't like it. And that adds to all that clutter in your mind. What do you need that clutter for? And if you could just take control, let go of wanting to change and let go of all that negativity that you're dumping into yourself when you tell yourself, oh, this is no good, this has to go away, but it doesn't go away, and then you're frustrated and then you beat yourself up even more. Where does that lead you? And for those of you who have been doing Lester's work and you found yourself frustrated and stuck with goals, this is probably why. You're hung up, you're still wanting to change it. And you have a choice. You can keep wanting to change it and beating yourself up and being dissatisfied because the method doesn't seem to work for you. Or you can examine your thinking and go, look, who's engaging in all this negativity? Who's doing this? I'm doing it. So when am I going to take responsibility, let go of being so negative and let go of wanting to change myself and holding the wrong thing in mind? You got to take responsibility. So, the method, if you do it, is so simple and so clear and so easy. If you want to really pick up on the ease and finally get the goals, the big goals that you've been dreaming of, then you gotta take responsibility, show up, and really practice Lester's work. And I'll give you the opportunity to do that. If you want to join me, I've got a super special class that's coming up this June called the Wealth Manifestation Course. Because a lot of us, we would like a lot more abundance in our life. And we're living in a world right now that's telling us that we can't. That there's wars going on, there's economic problems happening, and climate change, and all these other problems that keep us distracted and cluttering up our mind with problems and holding the wrong thing in mind. And we need to clean all that stuff up and recognize that all these problems, just like these masters say, they're not even real. Empty your mind. Go for your goals. To get all that garbage out of the way. And you'll see for yourself, there's nothing going on out there except your picture. You're the owner. You're the master. You're the boss. And it's so easy to see this for yourself. But you got to take responsibility and do it. So join me for the Wealth Manifestation course. I'll put a link to it up here and also in the description below. This is a fantastic 6-week course that gets you to bring up all of your beliefs about money and delete, literally delete what's not working for you so you can hold the right thing in mind and prove it to yourself. You ready? Then click that link and join us and keep releasing and find out the truth for yourself.